Hunter, can you watch it downstairs or something? Because I can't hear.
Later, Horatio asks Gulliver to help him.
Avengers.
No, you don't have to watch. I just invited, just in case.
By the end of it, the princess starts to fall for Horatio, but she is called by Edward, who is come to court her. The two have been destined to get married, because Edward is the bravest of the kingdom.
To get what?
Princess Mary isn't fond of Edward, but she cannot seem to get rid of him. Somewhere else, the search party finds the washed-up boat with things to tell. Gulliver comes to the scene and finds his phone still
What did you find?
He has 12 voice messages from Mercy. Turns out she is furious to have found out about Gulliver's plagiarized article. She has to now sail on the same trail Gulliver came through.
Top 10 ways to do everything in a way.
Gulliver doesn't want to go back to New York and face her, so he decides to stay in Lilliput permanently. Edward is not happy about the decision and tells the king he is suspicious of Gulliver. The king dismisses him, claiming that he trusts Gulliver. Because of his stay, the king gives Gulliver the title of the new general and demotes
Georgie has sent me a message.
Edward turns Lilliput's defense system off, making it easier for enemies to Lafusian to attack him. Lafusian soldiers see this and plan to attack Lilliput. They approach the kingdom through waters and launch cannonballs towards Lilliput. Being the general, now it's Gulliver's responsibility to stand up. He nervously starts to spin shit.
You are reading the manga?
Eventually, he defeats the Lafusians and becomes the savior of Lilliput.
I loaded up some music to give you a little boost.
Gulliver's wishes. They even build a model of Times Square, so he would feel at home.
You
They
can
change
do
their
this.
clothing to match that of Gulliver's. Soldiers are appointed to cut his hair and give him massages. One night, Edward barges into the princess's chamber. He claims
Yeah, but everything's different in manga. Because in manga you actually get to see more forms of Aaron.
Some days later, Gulliver is at the military square, and the bells of the palace ring, suggesting activation.
I've seen everything, don't worry about it.
But it's surprised when a huge robot came up
Oh,
and
how did I survive that fall?
Gulliver has no way to accept it. He tries to push the robot, but it is way stronger than him. He picks Gulliver up with his pants and makes him accept defeat. Gulliver also confesses that everything he said can be...
Who's on my stream?
The king and the princess are surprised to have been betrayed by him. Edward sends Gulliver to a forbidden place called the island where we dare not go, as a punishment. When Gulliver is left there, he is picked up by a giant red girl. Turns out the island...
I hate that red car.
The girl thinks Gulliver is a toy and keeps him in her Barbie house, dressing him in girly pink clothes. Meanwhile, back in Lilliput, Darcy's body washes up on the shore. Gulliver has told everyone that Darcy is his princess back home, so Edward recognizes her and imprisons her. She meets him Theo, his queen, prisoner, who had been captured after Gulliver's defeat. Horatio sees this and decides to travel to the island where we dare not go to get Gulliver back. He is minuscule and narrow, and manages to reach Gulliver safely. The little girl's dollhouse also has a skeleton of a dead U.S. Air Force pilot. Gulliver uses the parachute to escape and fly back to Lilliput. He first goes to meet Darcy in prison and confesses that he has a crush on her. She forgives him for plagiarizing her article and seems to be opening up to him. Gulliver has decided to challenge Edward for a duel. He doesn't want to prove his bravery anymore, but genuinely. The following day, the two stand before each other.
Oh, he does a backflip from midair! And he survived! Oh my god! What a legendary moment!
Horatio runs to help him and manages to get inside the robot. He defeats Edward from inside, eventually depowering the robot. After that, Gulliver defeats to the without rockets and cheers. Even Darcy celebrates the win. Because of Horatio's bravery, he is provided permission to kill Princess Mary.
I don't really care. You can just smell like a baba. Yes. Yes.
Are about to initiate the war again, but Gulliver stops them. He
I
successfully
have every time.
rival island nations by reciting Edward Starr's Glory, and finally he, along with Darcy, returned to New York City in a report ship. Cut to a few weeks later, Gulliver has left the mailroom job as a travel agent. He and Darcy
Everyone gets plot armor and
Gulliver has just
everything.
completed a travel assignment, and the movie ends as the two walk out of Darcy's office while holding hands. Subscribe for more videos like this.
George, I'm in space as Tony Stark right now.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, but Tony Stark goes in space in the film.
Today, I'm going to explain
Massive space, like, place.
spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care.
Well, yeah, I'm literally in space, and I'm in like a weird space lab by AIM.
Of robotic science,
If you don't know, the evil people, and
mankind manufactures
I don't know what
artificial life forms called the
that
surrogates.
is.
The surrogates are realistic-looking robots that are linked to people's brains.
What is
They are
this?
connected to the brains with a device that has more than 100 sensors. When a human
What
is seated
game is it?
on a surrogate device, those sensors attach to different parts.
What game is it?
By this process, whatever the human thinks of, the surrogate does.
Wait, George, have you watched this whole game on YouTube?
The inventor of the surrogate.
Okay, just don't tell me what happens.
Disabled people.
Yeah, I've
However,
literally in like a space lab. I'm in space, and it's like a massive lab.
as more devices are manufactured, they
Yeah, I've got Thor back, Black Widow back, Tony back.
people begin using their surrogates to go outside their homes, and eventually they become fully dependent on it. Because of the surrogate, you can go out without having to physically leave the house, which minimizes the risk of accidents, robberies, and diseases. Moreover, you can live however you like without having to go through plastic surgery or exercise. Your surrogate is you and will interact with the people of your life while you control it from your time. Only 7 years after the invention, the largest surrogate company, BSI, released a statement
Oh my god!
98% of the world population uses surrogates in different
I literally
aspects
done the
of their life.
sickest backflip
Humans live
ever.
in near total
And I
isolation,
fall.
rarely leaving the comfort of their homes. Their surrogates interact with other people's surrogates, which has become the fashion of life now. Because of the use of surrogates, violent crimes, communicable diseases, and discrimination.
We love the earth.
George, do you wanna play scary games on Rec Room?
There is a minority group that believes that humans are not supposed to live through machines. They have established
I literally
surrogate-free zones
landed
in different
the most
parts of the
sicko
US
mode
and are
flip
led by a
ever.
man widely known as the Prophet.
Oh.
It is now 14 years after the invention of surrogates.
Like
And no
that
man
flip was
is on
so
his way to
sicko mode.
He lies to his dad on the phone, saying that he is about to go see a
Connor,
At the
yeah?
car, he jumps off.
Do you wanna do scary games on Rec Room?
Suggesting that the guy is a surrogate.
Yeah, sure, in a minute.
Dancing and brings her out. As the two make out,
Let me re-download the 300 megabyte game called Rec Room.
They find out that the guy's surrogate's memory chip is completely fried, so they cannot find his registered owner. However, the girl surrogate is registered.
Bro, I'll literally chop your head off.
2 FBI agents named Tom Greer and Jennifer Peters find Cayman's address and visit him. When they reach the house, they find out that Cayman is actually a middle-aged man who has been killed while sitting in his surrogate hunting device. This is the first murder in years, so the detectives are shocked. The scene cuts to a running subway. Tom is returning home from work, and we see everyone around him as a surrogate. When he reaches home, he brings water for the real him, who works backstage.
Right, this is the room I've been looking for.
To live his life,
I literally don't know.
putting the surrogate
What is in this room? I've been
out
looking.
of his room to meet his wife, Maggie, but instead he is being
You're telling me I travelled to space just to find this special ball?
Is it only me that like, I just know when I know?
Maggie would rather send her surrogate for vacation and experience life through her. Somewhere else, some teenagers find
Because I literally know.
Oh, there's
like,
something inside of it.
while still
But like, I don't know.
at the FBI office, the detectives are discussing the case. They figure that whatever device this
It's Cap!
hit their owners as well. Such a case was deemed impossible to them because the
It's Cap!
supposed to feel.
Cap is not dead!
They find out that Jared was the son of Dr. Lionel Cantor, the inventor of surrogates. Tom and Jennifer make an appointment with Dr. Cantor and go to meet the surrogate. Dr. Cantor is using several surrogates at a time, which is considered illegal. However, since he is the inventor, the detectives dismiss it. Jared was using one of Cantor's surrogates when he got killed. This makes the detectives believe that the killer was after Cantor, not Jared. They then go to the largest surrogate
Come at me then, bro. I literally knocked you out in one punch.
but the CEO
You look like a
dismisses them,
peanut.
claiming that the surrogates are 100% safe to their owners. By the camera footage embedded in Jared's surrogate when he was killed, they find the picture of the man who killed him. They go to a colleague named Bobby Saunders, who is an administrator of the FBI computer system. He figures Jared's killer's name is Miles Strickland. Bobby also has access to every single surrogate in the U.S. and can turn them on at any time. After finding Miles' location, Tom and the party pursue him and help him. However, as they are about to get him,
That's an outfit.
killing both the surrogates and the operator.
How has he got a shield on his back?
No, I can't believe this game is 3 gigabytes.
Restricted area filled with anti-surrogates.
Oh, what?
Tom can get the kill. The surrogate
Okay.
is killed by the anti-surrogates. The real Tom
George.
is because of the weapon. He walks out of his room and falls on
Wait, since you've watched it, I'm actually generally asking for you to tell me. When you've got Cap, when you're walking as him, is he supposed to have his shield on his back?
Yeah, my dad would do it.
I've had George.
Turns out the man is Cantor's surrogate. He asks Tom about Jared's murder case.
I'm kind of agree with you on that one.
When an injured Tom
Oh, you can double jump. Let's go.
I am a demon slayer.
He gets nervous when she sees him, but he doesn't confront her. Later,
Yo, Fortnite copied Demon Slayer.
beats him, but the man is a surrogate, so it doesn't bother him. In the following scene, we see a man break into Jennifer's house and kill her.
And that's copied the Demon Slayer. Bro, if I was them, I'd literally sue them instantly.
It was made as a war weapon to bug the surrogates with a software virus. However, the officials didn't know that the virus would kill the operators. After they figured it out, the manufacture of the weapons was ceased. VSI was the manufacturer of the weapon, and they destroyed every unit of it. However, this one then we see the prophet point his man to deliver it to Jennifer's surrogate.
Stop beating people up!
And asks her if she misses their son. It turns out that the two had lost their son in a car accident, and Maggie has not been able to recover since. We get a glimpse of her real self, who is old and wrinkly, the total opposite of her surrogate. She and Tom are still grieving the loss of their child. So
Yes!
the military attacks the prophet and his men to get the weapon back.
I don't understand this game.
When they shoot the
Well,
prophet,
we got the prophet to win the beach
they
up.
find out that he is also a surrogate. The scene cuts to Dr. Cantor on his computer, monitoring the person in front of him. We get to know that Cantor was the one posing as the prophet who stopped the use of his own invention.
I love the fact that I'm wall running, but nothing happens. Like, I'm pressing the wall running buttons, but nothing happens.
Cantor's son was killed by VSI and their boss, Andy Stone. They had figured out that Cantor was trying to stop the use of surrogates, which would cause VSI a huge loss. Therefore, they, along with Stone, planned to kill Cantor with the weapon. However, they killed his son mistakenly. Carter couldn't bear the thought of his son dying and made it his mission to use our surrogates. However, he needs the weapons and the code to make it
Yeah, but big up,
She tells Tom that Stone was involved to kill Joe and asks him to bring Stone's computer file to her as evidence.
Nothing.
Tom goes to meet Stone and knocks him out. He then
Sasuke.
downloads everything on Stone's computer
Sasuke.
and rushes out. Now that Jennifer finally has the weapon and the code, she has to go to Bobby to reduce the virus, free the weapon, and every surrogate in the world. Tom realizes that Jennifer's surrogate has been taken over, but just then, they get into an accident. Jennifer holds Bobby, and Tom rushes to the root of the problem. Jennifer holds Bobby and induces the virus into the system. In a few minutes, everyone with the surrogate comes back. Just then, Tom reaches Cantor's mansion and asks him
Oh my dead mom.
Cantor replies that he had made the surrogates to help him carry
Well, you're never gonna do the Uchiha massacre like they used to.
Now that his son is dead, he doesn't want to let his death go in vain and wants to end the surrogate addiction.
Level 87.
Tom takes over Jennifer's surrogate and asks Bobby how he can stop the virus. Bobby tells him the codes, and the two successfully save the surrogates on him. Now Tom has to click yes to save all the surrogates. He hesitates as Bobby tells him that he only have a few seconds left.
Yeah, but the bother running public.
Disabling all the servants in the building. We see hundreds of servants assault working on the street. Soon, their owners come out of their home for the first time.
Hannah, turn it down.
He races back to his home to see the real man. He finds her in the scene's bed. The movie ends as the credits roll. Track from the videos,
Yeah, but the
notifications, and leave a like to help the channel. Just for recap, today I'm going to explain the science fiction action film.
did you just disrespect
Spoilers ahead in the show. Thank you.
Shizui didn't even, Itachi didn't even take Shizui's eyes.
The movie begins in futuristic Japan, where the government is banned from
Shizui gave them to Itachi.
no one is allowed to give birth when they're young.
No, it's not!
If the first one happens. At the heavily guarded Canada United States border
Shizui's my
station,
favourite
the
actor.
force requests everyone to take their personal belongings to the inspection office. Former Army officer John
Oh,
and his wife Karen
oh.
are in a car about to be inspected.
Yeah, but the
There
bother
seems to be an emergency.
Oh!
When Karen moves her arm, a magnetic vest that she is wearing inside her overcoat is visible. Turns out that Karen is pregnant and is going to be included to give birth to their second child. After the first child is born, the government tries to
Flashy
find this kid.
childish.
However, Karen got lucky and fell pregnant again. Hence, the magnetic vest is to cover
No,
her
my
pregnancy.
hair is gay.
When they're at the inspection center, the soldiers order them to get out
Whoa!
of their belongings. While a soldier checks Karen's bag,
Yes.
the girl in front of them gets arrested for being pregnant.
Yeah, but they could. Yeah, but the bother.
The magnetic vest stops at the door.
Oh!
Outside.
Oh, for goodness sake.
This is the magnetic vest on Karen. An alarm starts to ring.
Yeah, but
and the
they drop.
soldiers
Yeah, but
attack
they.
them.
Yeah, but the
John
bother.
manages to fight them and runs away with Karen to cross the bridge. As the soldiers pursue them,
They
John
call
asks
me a
Karen to run
god,
away
because
without
that
him,
is
and
what
she
I
reluctantly
am.
agrees. John is soon arrested,
Boom,
but
boom,
Karen
boom.
manages to flee. In the following scene, we see John and other prisoners like him in a vehicle being taken to a prison.
Yeah, but they. Yeah, but they.
It is a
Yeah, but
private,
they. Yeah, but
maximum
they.
security prison offered by the Mentel Corporation.
Yo, this is really good.
Get inside the facility,
Oh!
and the guards make them strip naked. A voice from the background welcomes
Easier
the
said than done.
and introduces himself as Director.
No!
The prisoners are then brought to a room where everyone is fitted with something.
Whoever made this game, their nan is a nun.
Systems fitted into their intestine and is triggered when anyone breaks the prison's rules. The process is called intestinal.
What level are you using that?
After the implantation of the technology, prisoners who cross the yellow line on the floor will be
I'm at level 97.
and the ones who cross the
Yeah, I
line
don't care.
will die instantly.
I
One of
don't
the
care.
inmates gets nervous and crosses the yellow line, and as soon as he does, he falls down in pain. He accidentally crosses the red line too. The man's stomach starts to bloat and eventually bursts.
Whoa, this is
Others
so
are put into an elevator that goes underground.
Like we're stuck in
The
space.
prison is 30 stories.
Yes,
Oh,
it
no,
is.
it's all shaved
John
him.
and a fellow inmate named Nino Gomez
Connor?
are let off on a floor.
Yeah.
They are greeted by a
even
monitoring
okay.
device called the Z10, which takes them to a crowded prison cell. One of the inmates, named Stiggs, yells at Zed, claiming that the cell already has too many people, but Zed instead threatens to intestinate him. The cells have a laser beam
What?
that stops inmates from going out when not needed.
Nah.
John introduces himself to another inmate named
Fortnite's
Abraham.
gay.
As they are about to fall asleep,
Fortnite
the
is
third
gay,
inmate
though.
named Abraham tells John to mute After everyone is asleep,
Yeah.
Zed comes to inspect the prisoners. It scans John's face
Yeah,
and
but
goes
it's
into his
better than
mind.
Roblox.
John is dreaming about him making love to
You can control machines
somewhere
with
else
your
in the
mind.
The prisoners are
Think
watching John's kid who is in infatuation with him. He reminds John only because of the world's thought process, but is not allowed in the facility.
That is what happens. I think I'm almost at the last level as well. The dropper. I said I'm almost.
Sexually assaulting
No, you're not. No, you're not. Because 200 is, there's not even a level 2. So you just caught yourself out.
Nino is too scared of violence.
No, there's not even that either.
He himself started fighting. He is then taken to those offices.
You don't even know what the max one is, because you're still at level 9.
As it turns out, she was arrested after
I don't even play Fortnite, George.
Mate, I'm level 1.
I'm talking about bloody Roblox.
tells John that there was AED for the women's quarters.
Roblox is not better than Fortnite. Roblox literally sucks.
Talking to a fellow pregnant girl. As her stomach starts to
Because Roblox is a game to play when you're bored.
realizes that the facility does something with their unborn children. In the men's quarter, Maddox picks a fight with John. The men get into an intense battle as everyone in the facility watches them, along with Poe from his cabin. Karen sees her husband from her floor and is surprised. Both the parties are bloody when John pushes Maddox off the edge.
Yes, level 103.
Poe orders
What the
John
hell?
to
When did this turn into little Nas X pole dance?
Poe takes the matter into his own hands and uses a weapon to kill him. It blows up his whole stomach, creating a hole in it. John finds Maddox's before being taken away by the guards. In the following scene, Poe walks into a room where John is suspended in a massive machine with a machine. Poe has sent her to walk with him. They talk for a while, but the guards drag her out soon after. The machine starts to move, John
This is literally the easiest thing I've ever done, ever.
goes for him to kill Maddox. John's brain slowly starts to break down. He loses time at the military, his wedding day, and so on. After 3 days, Poe invites Karen to his chamber. He is
I didn't even touch it!
this long, as the maximum someone has ever lasted on this ship is a year.
Your face looks like my dirty
She
toe.
stays with him, at his chamber as his companion. With no choice left, Karen agrees. John returns to his cell.
Shut up, Hunter!
He doesn't talk to anyone and has become completely numb.
Yabba dabba doo, yabba
He started to
doo.
live
Yabba dee jump, you know, the
She wakes up to see Poe in a chair, attached to several wires. As it turns out, he is
Yeah.
modified to be an advanced human. He doesn't sleep,
No.
but intakes amino acids once a month. The same happens
Alright.
with children. They go through several procedures to be turned into advanced humans, so that one day, mankind can
No,
free
he
the
is
population.
a
Poe is one of the first
when the world is
humans to
gonna be with you, doesn't matter if you hold up and hold it. Oh my god!
Abraham tells him that Karen's belly is finally shown. His baby will be born into the world soon. John doesn't
What
believe
is-
him, but says he's seen it through.
Oh my god.
That night, Karen tries
Oh!
to drink alcohol, which makes him insane. She uses the control panel to control John's
Oh
body,
god,
in
the
which
space
she is the
man.
kid version of John trapped in a pit. She brings him back out of the pit, bringing the real John back into the
Ah!
house. His inmate friends are shocked and happy to have him
Oh,
back.
your nan literally looks like a testicle of a chicken.
Escape the prison. Abraham is stuck.
The only hero I have fully unlocked is Thor, but he's in, like, he's here, but
Over the moon.
like you can't. It doesn't say he's available on the hero roster yet. So
Yes!
Later, Nemo hands John a device he brought.
The chimney is blocked. Oh, I'm doing it.
Used to be a computer before coming to prison.
guys, I'll be back in
Next,
I'll be back in a minute.
steal a diamond-like holographic lens from Poe's cabin. She almost gets caught, but manages to hide the device inside. She hands the device to Abraham,
control over
and
world
asks to give it
communication
to John.
networks.
Abraham doesn't want to get in trouble, but accepts doing it as a favor. The guys use the cell's protective laser beams to trigger the lens and look at the hologram of the facility. They find that there is a way out through the construction site. The following morning,
Speaking of the
Abraham puts
media,
the lens back in
reports
Poe's
of our
cabin.
own Thor
Poe asks
Odinson
Karen
working
to
with
go
extreme
strong.
scientists in a remote
He
part of
claims he will treat the
Scandinavia
child as
has
his own,
started
and
popping
he
up on the
promises to
news.
let John go free.
This may be part of AIM's propaganda campaign against the Avengers,
Meanwhile,
but it bears
Peter figures out
investigation.
how the intestinal device works. The device is magnetic and can be used to bring out the devices from other bodies.
Yes.
They try the procedure and are surprised when it works. They get all of their intestinal devices out. The following day, Poe is alerted by Zed to look through the security camera footage where he sees Karen stealing the lens and Abraham putting it back. He is angered to see he has been betrayed, but Zed informs him that he has been dismissed because of his carelessness. Meanwhile, the boys put their plan into action. They attach their intestinal devices to a metal pipe in the construction area and pose as if they are fighting. As Zed finds out about the fight, it triggers the intestines, causing them to explode. This creates a way for them to escape through the pipe, but Poe activates the steam valves and sends hot gas into the pipes to keep them trapped. He also activates the strike clones, who start firing at the group from inside the facility. They are stuck in the pipe now. One of the inmates, Stiggs, panics and tries to go into the facility again, but the clones shoot him dead. Meanwhile, Abraham approaches Karen at the facility, but before they can do anything, Poe finds them. He kills Abraham and makes some soldiers take Karen to turn her baby into an advanced human like him. Meanwhile, the guys manage to kill one of the clones and find out that he is an advanced human as well. John takes his gun and attacks the other clones. They get inside the facility while battling the clones. They manage to get on top of an elevator-like machine that lifts them up. Everyone in the prison cheers for them when they see them escaping. They finally reach Poe's chamber and demand to meet Karen. The screen shows the doctors trying to extract her baby. John threatens Poe to cease the delivery, but since he has been dismissed, the system doesn't take his command. One of the killing devices recognizes the guys and tries to shoot them, but they quickly dodge it, making Poe its victim. After Poe's death, D-Day gets on control panel and tries to stop the doctors from performing the procedure on Karen, but before he can complete the process, the clone shoots him. John manages to kill the clone, and an injured D-Day disables the whole facility's electrical system. With his final strength, the doctors stop the procedure for the time being. The security system fails, and every prisoner starts running away. John and Nina are the only survivors. They go to look for Karen and take her away from the doctors. The three get into a vehicle and finally drive away from the facility. They only stop when they cross the border and reach Mexico. Karen is about to give birth in a shed when the vehicle they drove in starts to move on its own. As it turns out, it is still being controlled by the facility. It hits Nina and kills him. John goes out to fight the vehicle as Karen is in labor inside the shed. John attacks the vehicle with the weapon from earlier and explodes it, but the vehicle strikes the shed, and Karen is buried in its remains. A distressed John looks for his wife and finds her safe nearby. She has a newborn baby in her hands. The movie ends as the two look at their kid in fascination. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Hi, Mystery Recaps here. Today, I'm going to explain an episode called White Christmas from the British science fiction series Black Mirror. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The episode begins in a tiny cabin in the middle of nowhere. Joe Potter wakes up on Christmas Eve to loud music playing outside. His roommate, Matt Trent, is in the Christmas spirit, but Joe is not in the mood for it. Matt and Joe have been living together for 5 years, but have barely talked to each other. Matt asks Joe his reason for being in the cabin, but he is hesitant to talk, so Matt goes first to ease Joe into the conversation. He starts talking about his life prior to living in the cabin. Matt used to be a love guru, someone who helped nervous boys to flirt with women and seduce them. He used an advanced technology fitted into the eyes of the man called the Z-Eyes to watch how the date went and listen to their conversations. Matt talks about one particular case of a man named Harry. Harry is a nervous man around girls and needs Matt's help to seduce women. It is nighttime, and Harry has to get ready to crash a random office party. Matt starts by turning the Z-Lamp on. Now he can see and hear everything that Harry does. He asks Harry to change from his clothes to something more masculine. Harry obliges and gets ready. When he first gets into the party, Harry looks around, and his eyes land on a dark-haired girl hanging out with a blonde girl and a man. Matt advises him to join the group, but talk only to the blonde girl. He does a reverse image search to look for the girl's name and personality on a device. The blonde introduces herself as Amy, and the other girl as Jennifer. Jennifer then excuses herself and leaves the conversation. Harry goes to the washroom and asks Matt not to watch while he pees. Just then, we get to know that Matt isn't alone, but a whole group of his friends are watching the interaction of the man. When Harry goes back, Jennifer is sitting alone, far from the party. Matt makes him approach her. Jennifer finally seems to be opening up to him. While talking, she reveals that she used to take pills, but isn't taking them anymore. The statement unsettles Harry and Matt, but they don't think much of it. Jennifer goes to the bathroom, and Harry starts talking to Matt. He genuinely likes the girl, and feels like he is cheating her by taking Matt's help. As he chats, Jennifer returns and sees him talking to himself. She immediately asks him to come over to her place, and Harry obliges. She claims that the little voice in her head is asking her to invite him. When they reach her home, Jennifer goes to get drinks, after telling Harry to go to her room. The guys watching them are excited, anticipating sexual advances from him, but Harry retaliates, saying that he isn't comfortable with Matt watching. Jennifer comes back with the drinks and demands Harry get on the bed. He hesitantly agrees when suddenly she forces him to take a gulp of the drink. Jennifer thinks that Harry too has voices in his head and assumes Harry is insane like her. Turns out she has poisoned the drink to kill herself and Harry so they don't have to hear the voices anymore. Matt and the others watching are horrified when Harry starts coughing blood. She eventually forces him to drink the juice and kills him. Matt quickly turns his computer off and asks the other guys to destroy any video evidence they have of the interaction. Matt gathers the evidence in a bin and sneaks out of the room to throw them out. However, he is caught by his wife, Claire. She finds out about his involvement with the crime and him being a perverted love guru. The two get into a fight, and Claire blocks him. With the new technology of human blocking, the person being blocked will only appear as an anonymous shape for the blocker. The two cannot talk or communicate. Back in the present, Matt reveals that being a love guru was his side hustle. His main job was somewhat unusual. He starts by talking about a woman named Greta. She is sitting on a hospital bed when a nurse comes and asks if she is ready to perform the procedure. When the process starts, Greta falls unconscious under anesthesia. Then we see something being taken out of the woman's head. The nurse keeps an egg-like device on the table. The device has a mind of its own, but we can hear her talking. It turns out Greta's whole memory has been coded and put into the device. So, now the egg is a second Greta that cannot move, but still has her consciousness and personality. In the following scene, the device is in front of Matt. He explains to the voice that he works for a company called Smart Intelligence. The company has figured out a way to make digital clones of people and store them in an egg-shaped object. The clones are called cookies and are used as personal assistants by real people. The real Greta has made her cookie to help her through daily life. The control panel in front of the cookie controls everything in the house, like the temperature, lighting, and all the electronics. She has to use them to help Greta with basic things. However, the cookie refuses to be a slave to Greta. Matt has expected this, so he sets a 1-minute timer on the device. During this time, the cookie Greta will live 1 year of life in 1 minute. When the minute is over, and Matt talks to her again, she is startled. After spending a year in isolation, she begs Matt to give her something to work on. Matt happily says that she will be working as Greta's assistant from now on. We see then the cookie monitoring the real Greta. She turns the light and alarm on in the morning. She makes a shot of espresso for her and makes a voice near her schedule. That is her life now. Back in the present, Joe finally feels comfortable and starts opening up about his life. He had a beautiful fiancée named Beth. On a snowy day, the two are out as Beth's father tells them to be back home soon. In the following scene, we see Beth and Joe having dinner with 2 of their friends. Beth doesn't feel good after dinner, so she goes to sleep early. As Joe cleans after her, he smells the contents of the bin and finds a positive pregnancy test. Shocked, he confronts Beth about it. She dismisses it and says that she wants an abortion and is too young to have a kid. Joe tries to convince her, saying that he will take care of the kid, but Beth is strictly against it. When he starts to scream at her, she blocks him. Joe's voice changes into a muffled tone, and the two only see a shadow of each other now. He throws a vase at the wall and storms out of the room. The following morning, Beth rushes to her car outside, while a still blocked Joe follows her. Beth drives away somewhere and never comes back. The block stops Joe from calling or texting her, so he has no means of communication. A week passes, but she doesn't return. Joe learns that she has left the job without any explanation, and no one knows where she is. Moreover, he cannot even look at images of her, as the block option covers every image of the person. A few months later, he is in town when he sees a silhouette nearby and recognizes it as Beth's. It is clear to him that she is still pregnant. Surprised that she has kept his child, he approaches her and asks her to turn the block off. But all Beth hears is a muffled voice and yells for help. Eventually, the police arrest Joe. He is desperate to meet his child, but doesn't know where Beth is. He knows where her father lives, and is sure that Beth is going to be there at Christmas. So, next Christmas, he goes to her father's home, which lies in the middle of nowhere. There, he finally sees Beth and their kid. Since the block option blurs offspring as well, he cannot see if the baby is a boy or a girl. Joe is beyond confused as to why Beth kept the baby, but doesn't want him to live.
I always thought your
A lot of time goes by. Joe has made it a ritual to visit Beth's father every Christmas Eve and look at them from a distance. He claims it was like watching his kid grow up, even though he couldn't see the kid's face. 4 years later, he realizes that the child is a girl for the first time. One day, Joe is searching through channels on the TV and sees Beth's picture on it. She had died in a train crash, so the block was turned off. Joe can see her face for the first time in years. The next Christmas, he wraps a Christmas globe as a present for his daughter and heads to Beth's grandfather's home. When he gets a glimpse at her, he is sure she is not his daughter. Shocked, he follows her into the house. He realizes Beth had been cheating on him with her coworker. Beth's father is shocked to see him at his house and asks him to go away. In anger and frustration, Joe hits the old man with the snow globe, injuring his head. Joe left the old man unconscious in the kitchen and never came back. He died in this very spot, and the little girl stayed in her room for the day. The following day, she gave her dead grandfather a gift she had made him. Realizing that no one is going to come, she went out to search for help while it was snowing heavily. Since the house was in the middle of nowhere, she died of cold. As he finishes telling the story, Joe is in tears. He asks God to forgive him. Matt asks him if he confesses his crime, and Joe admits that he does. He seems to be in an interview with Joe at this point. All of a sudden, Matt talks to someone else, claiming that he has done it, and asking them to let him out now. The scene changes to Matt at a police station, talking to some officials. In front of him lies an egg-like cloning device. As it turns out, Matt has been talking to Joe's cookie this whole time. Using the technology, he created his own cookie to try to make Joe confess his crime. Matt had made a deal with the police that if he can make Joe confess, he will be let free for not reporting Harry's death and conducting illegal dating services. The police say that he will be on their sex offender list and will be permanently blocked from everyone. When Matt goes out, he sees that everyone around him is just a silhouette. The world is blurred and muffled for him. Moreover, everyone sees him as a red shadow, indicating that he is a sex offender. A police officer sets a timer of 1,000 years per minute on Joe's device and leaves him like that. The cookie Joe now lives 1,000 years and 1 minute in isolation. We see him struggling to keep himself sane. As the camera pans out, he seems to be inside a loop of snowglobes. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Mr. Today, I'm going to explain a science fiction action film called The Discovery. Spoilers ahead. Watch out. Don't take care. At the beginning of the movie, we see Professor Thomas Harvey being interviewed. He has recently proven the existence of life after death. The interviewer claims that his discovery was dangerous because ever since his work was published, the suicide rate has been skyrocketing. He dismisses the claim by saying that such a crucial truth about human life had to be brought to the people, regardless of the consequences. Thomas has been able to capture brain wavelengths on a subatomic level, leaving a person's body when they die. This explains that a person's consciousness goes somewhere when they die. But the interviewer insists that since they do not know where consciousness goes, they can't tell for sure if the employer exists. Thomas tackles the claim, saying that when a train leaves the station, we know it is going somewhere. She then brings up that many celebrities, athletes, and hundreds of civilians have ended their lives because of the professor and asks him if he feels responsible for their deaths. Thomas simply answers that he doesn't. Just then, one of the camera crew stands before Thomas and thanks him for the fresh start. He shoots himself dead right after. In a similar fashion, people have been committing mass suicide to restart a new life in the afterlife. It is now the 2nd anniversary of the discovery. Thomas's son, Will Harder, is traveling on a ferry, listening to a TV program talking about his father's discovery. As it turns out, the suicide rate has not decreased ever since. Will turns the TV on, making it clear that he is not proud of his father's work. A girl from the other seat startles him. They are the only ones on the ferry. She introduces herself as Isla, and Will comments that her face looks familiar. The two chit-chat for a while. The conversation turns to them talking about the discovery. Isla is a supporter of it, but Will explains that he doesn't believe in it. Isla claims that the discovery gives people a way to get relief from the sufferings in the world, but Will stays adamant about his view. After they get off the ferry, Isla hitchhikes in the car, leaving Will at the harbor. His brother Toby comes to pick him up. The two drive to a huge mansion built by their father. Thomas has built his new station in the mansion and has employed people who survived attempted suicides. Will is confused to see labs and machinery inside the house. Thomas has been conducting a scientific experiment. Will meets his father and politely asks him to stop all of this. He wants Thomas to tell the media that his discovery was false and stop the chain of mass suicides. Thomas laughs at that idea and claims that his discovery was 100% true. He won't lie to anyone. As it turns out, Will was the inspiration for the discovery. When Will was young, he had an accident and died for a minute. When he was resuscitated, he had told his parents that he saw flashes and a little boy in front of him. This provided Thomas with the idea that life after death might exist. Hence, Will blames himself for the deaths. This is how it started. After the conversation, Will goes outside to cool his mind, but just then, he sees Aya on the beach nearby. She seems to be packing her bags with weights. the heavy bag and goes into the sea. Will realizes she is about to commit suicide and runs to save her. He goes into the water and manages to save her, but Isla is furious. He takes her to the mansion and asks Toby to take her in, since they help people who are suicidal. Toby agrees, but she will have to go through the questionnaire first. Isla is surprised to discover Thomas is Will's father. He conducts an interview with Isla, asking her questions about her life. Meanwhile, Will goes around the house and sees that it has been fully converted into an establishment with canteens and rooms for every patient. At night, everyone gathers in a room while Thomas presents something to them. He brings out a man with a device attached to his head and claims he has figured out a way to see the afterlife. Till now, the world only knew that our brainwaves leave for someone after we die. But now he has figured out a way to see where the brainwave is going. Will and the others are shocked. Thomas explains that with the device, they can see a video recording of the afterlife. Later, everyone is at Thomas's office. He wants to be the first one to be experimented, but he has to be dead for that. Hence, they decide to perform it on their already dead person, which they have to steal from the moon. On their way there, Toby reveals to Isla that their mother committed suicide, and Will blames his father for it. At the morgue, Toby distracts the keeper, allowing Will and Isla to successfully steal the corpse of a man named Phillips. That night, Will and Isla sleep on a bunk bed together. Will tells her that his mother killed herself on the day of his parents' wedding anniversary. His father was never attentive, and she was left hopeless when Thomas didn't leave his office on the anniversary. Will had found her dead body in the bathtub the following morning. The two talk for a while, and sleep while holding hands. The next day, everyone is ready to perform the experiment. They attach the corpse's head to the ground. While Thomas waits for something to show on the mirror, nothing happens. They do it repeatedly, but to no avail. A disappointed Thomas leaves the room, and everyone else follows. However, when Will is alone inside, the monitor starts working and shows a clip of Phillips moving around the hospital. Will quickly turns it off before Thomas comes in. They have to let Phillips' body go for cremation, and Thomas asks Toby for a new corpse. Will and Isla take the corpse back to the morgue and leave him in the room inside. All of a sudden, Isla kisses Will. They feel awful for her and do not talk about it at all. Will can't get the thought of the video out of his head, so he's downloaded it to his iPhone. After some research on the internet, he finds the hospital on the video. Will drives to the hospital and walks through the process first. However, he reaches the dead end. It was not in the video. The janitor informs him that there needs to be a passage before the hospital will renovate the property. Will realizes that the video could not have been in the future. He predicts it to be Phillips' memory. Later, everyone gathers at the mansion for a session, and Thomas calls a patient named Lacey to the stage. Lacey has been speaking against the discovery and Thomas's invention, claiming that it would cause more than suicide. Thomas confronts her in front of everyone. As it turns out, he had found Lacey in the woods, ready to kill herself, and had saved her. In the end, he asked her to leave himself. Will is furious at Thomas for embarrassing Lacey, but Thomas dismisses him. Later, Will shows Isla Phillips' video. The two go to the same hospital to investigate Phillips' case together. They find Phillips' father's file with his address on it. They believe that in the video, Phillips was visiting his father on his deathbed, and the woman he met was probably a relative. Later that night, Will has a chat with Toby. He tells him that Thomas has been working on his mission for the month. Thomas is guilt-ridden because of his wife's death and wants to know if she went to a better place. The following day, Will and Isla go to the beach, where Isla tells him that the father of the son had drowned in the beach because she fell asleep. That was the reason she wanted to go before Will saved her. The two then go to Phillips' house and meet his sister, who is the speed away in the video. She informs them that Phillips never came to meet her father in the hospital. None of his family likes him, as he had been awful to him. Will has noticed a tattoo of the White House on Phillips' arm in the video, but the woman tells him that he had a rave tattoo instead. Will realizes the video is not Phillips' memory, but rather his own. Phillips has gone back in time to correct his mistakes in his life after their death. As it turns out, in the afterlife, people relive an alternate version of their life and get a second chance to make different choices. Will and Isla are surprised by the discovery. They are in their room and suddenly, Toby barges in and calls them to see Thomas. Thomas has attached himself to the device to try to figure out the machine. He has suffocated himself and is on the verge of death. The monitor starts working again. This time, it shows Thomas in the night of his wife's death. It was their anniversary. He had not come out of his office that day, but in the video, he tells his wife that Will came over and was done. He had been given a chance to correct his mistake. He did. Right after watching the video, they unplugged the machine and bring Thomas back to life by electrocuting him with a defibrillator. Thomas is shocked and delighted to see his device work. It turns out that when a person dies, he goes back to the human incident that he regrets the most and gets a second chance to make different choices. He gathers everyone in his house in the front yard and is about to tell them about the invention when suddenly a gunshot is heard. Lacey, who has been kicked out of the mansion, has shot Isla. She claims that she didn't kill her, just gave her a new beginning before being taken away by Toby. Isla falls to the ground and tells Will that she doesn't want to die anymore. Will is devastated, and she takes her last breath in his arms. Sometime later, we see Toby and Thomas talk about Isla's family for a police report. Thomas decides to destroy the machine after seeing the impact it has on people. But when Thomas tries going inside his lab, he discovers that it is locked from the inside. Will locks himself in and attaches himself to the device. He suffocates himself, and when he is on the verge of death, Will finds himself in a memory of himself back on the ferry. Will meets Isla again and asks her what is going on. Isla reveals that this is a memory because Will is connected to the machine and is not dead. Isla here is his own subconscious. In the memory, Isla reveals that he has been living this part in loops in multiple lives. The two first met on the same ferry many lives ago, but in that scenario, Will didn't see Isla trying to commit suicide and couldn't save her. When he read about her death the following day, he was filled with guilt because he knows he could have done something on the ferry. He went on living his life, but the guilt always remained with him. Eventually, when he died, he was brought back to the ferry where he met Isla again because he regretted this moment the most in his life. However, Will couldn't save her, even then. In a similar way, Will has been stuck in this loop and lived his life hundreds of times trying to save Isla, but he'd never been successful until his most recent life. Will has met her numerous times, so a part of his consciousness remembers her. That is why Isla looked familiar to him when they first met. Isla tells him that since he has been able to stop Isla from committing suicide in this life, he has made peace with his consciousness and has no regrets in it. Also because of that, he would now end up somewhere else in his next life, and not on the ferry. Will promises that in his next life, he will remember Isla. Just then, he begins to hear the voices of Thomas and Toby. They are trying to jumpstart his heart, but their attempt is unsuccessful, and Will dies. After he dies, his afterlife takes him back to a beach. Will sees a little boy is alone, playing in the water. He takes him out, making sure the kid doesn't drown. Just then, Isla comes running to them, and we see that the kid is Isla's son. Will now has been sent to save him. Isla thanks him and walks away with her son. Neither of them recognize the other. As Will walks away, he turns around with a confused look on his face, suggesting that he is starting to remember Isla. The movie ends, but we can imagine that Will perhaps asks Isla out for coffee, or something like that, afterwards. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Hi, History Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an American science fiction action film called John Carter. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The movie starts on a strange planet called Barsoom. The planet consists of 3 major kingdoms called the Helium, the Zodanga, and the Thards. Helium and Zodanga have been at war for centuries. In the beginning of the movie, we see the army of Helium in blue capes battling the army of Zodanga in red capes. The general of Zodanga, named Sab Fan, is approached by 3 men who claim to be messengers of God, called Therns. The Therns leader, Matai Shang, gives him a mysterious blue weapon and tells him that he has been chosen by the goddess to receive it. The Therns have decided to help Zodanga in the war. They possess the control over a mysterious blue light called the Ninth Ray, which makes them stronger than on Barsoom. We cut to New York City in 1881. A man named Edgar is summoned by his uncle named John Carter to New York City. When Edgar drops at the station, he is greeted by John's butler, who takes him to John's estate. As it turns out, John is a wealthy man and a former Confederate Army captain. John's lawyer sadly informs Edgar of John's sudden death. John has left all of his vast wealth to Edgar. The lawyer then takes a surprised Edgar to John's mausoleum, where his body is being preserved. But strangely, the door of the mausoleum only opens from the inside. Later, the lawyer hands Edgar a personal diary of John, which John wanted only Edgar to read. When the lawyer leaves, he begins to read it. begins by mentioning that Edgar was the only one who believed John's wild stories when he was little, so it only feels right to tell this story to Edgar. The story starts in Arizona after the Civil War. John Carter is a former captain in the Confederate Army who currently looks for gold in caves. Powell is a Union colonel who wants John to help his U.S. cavalry soldiers against the Apache, so he abducts him and tries drafting him as a soldier. However, John doesn't want to fight as a soldier anymore. After several failed attempts of running away, he manages to escape by knocking a guard out and stealing the colonel's horse. The colonel and his men pursue him. Not far away, they come across a mounted Apache warband. The colonel and the men get into a shootout with the people. John tries running away amidst the chaos, but the colonel gets injured. He helps the colonel out of pity and brings him to a nearby cave. The cave is new to John, as he has never come here to search for gold. He goes inside, lights a match, and is beyond surprised to see lots of gold embedded on the roof of the cave. However, just then, a man behind him breaks into the door. The man is one of the teammates we saw at the beginning of the movie. The colonel alerts John, who gets into a fight with the strange man. He shoots the man, and John falls to the ground. When John gets near him, he hears the man say while streaming, while looking at the strength and value of his hands.
They're exploring potential uses of cosmic energy.
And here I
Suddenly, a bright blue light flashes out of the wall. When John opens his eyes again, it's not present. He gets up and tries walking, but falls into the sea. It seems as though he can float. Confused, he practices walking. As he walks, he reaches a tree nearby where he sees several eggs hatching. Just then, a large group of green creatures with 6 limbs appear riding on massive animals. The leader attacks him, making John take a huge leap. The rest start firing at John, but stop when their leader asks them to. The creatures speak in a different John introduces himself as John Carter.
The new scientist supreme, Monica Rappaccini, now directs all daily operations within AIM. Shield believes she is spinning up several dangerous new missions. To what end we have yet to discover. Since recovering the SHIELD protocols, our priority is now to help Commander Maria Hill get SHIELD back on its feet. Well as agents in the field,
they should use figure out the secret of the Ninth War used by the Zagaba to fight the war. However, when she shows her weapon to the king, a man secretly causes a malfunction, causing it to explode. The king of Zodanga, Sad Fan, wants to marry Deja for the war to end, but she is extremely pensive. If Sad Fan marries her, he will be the prince of Helium and will have the power to rule all of Earth soon. Meanwhile, the thugs take John to their city and put him with the newly born infants. At night, a female thug named Sola feeds John a liquid, after which he can understand the language of the thugs. The following day, the thugs order John to jump high in front of everyone. John notices that the medallion is with Tarkus, and without it, he cannot go back home. Just then, 2 battleships appear in the sky. The Helium are battling each other. The rebels enter the thugs, who bet on who will win. We see Princess Deja fighting in the ships. She tries to control the ship, but falls off of it in the process.
I'm back.
John, using his
Hello, George.
saves the princess.
Hello.
The thugs start cheering for John, who is now fighting the Zodanga's soldiers along with Deja.
George, I'm 85% in.
Their ship crashes as well. Deja and John are with the thugs. Tarkus is impressed by John's abilities and makes him his right-hand man. John is reluctant to the idea, but doesn't disagree. At night, Deja and John talk, and Deja reveals to John that they are on Mars, which is called Barsoom in their language. John is surprised and almost doesn't believe her. He tells her that